we are back down on the ground. This feels good. New tires thankfully cleared exactly how I was hoping they would based on my measurements. Rear end's now stabbed back into the car, drive shaft back in, axles bolted back up. Everything's done in the rear end except for I'm currently attempting to bleed the cooling system, but I ran into a leaky fuel line, so I got to go grab some more E-Safe push lock AN line, maybe some new fittings. I think it's actually leaking from this T somewhere, even though this T was fairly tight. But I have had leaky fittings before from pretty much every brand, Earl's, Frigola, but the Frigola seem to be leaking less often. So I don't know, maybe it's something about just the way my fuel rail lines are run from the regulator. But aside from that, yes, it's back. We ended up having the snout repowdered, so it's a little bit closer of a texture, still a little coarser. It's a little bit taller of a texture than the head unit, but the coloration and it's got a little bit more gloss than last time, and it looks much better than it did before, even though it was still better than the bare billet that it showed up in. Obviously everything else is put back together. Belt drive went back together just fine. Unfortunately, like I said, we're having some leaky fuel. I smelled pretty strong E after I got done, priming the fuel system, and I think it's leaking from back here in this corner, which is why all this wiring and all these hoses are just kind of hanging out over here. But we're gonna go run, grab some more fuel line, maybe a new T fitting here real quick, and then hopefully we'll be back to doing streetcar things. A lot of this stems from, or at least finding this stems from the fact that we thought the water pump wasn't running, so I took the rear cover back off of the fuel cell, double checked the relay. The relay was clicking. Pump's running fine. You can hear it. It's just a lot more muffled now underneath the false floor. So pump is running fine, and the fuel pumps are definitely working since it leaked quite a good puddle of E. I initially thought this was all E85. Thankfully it's not. That's water, because the ceiling in this place leaks pretty fucking bad on the west side of the building. So, but I gotta somehow get some pressure in here, or somehow motivate this fluid to climb slightly uphill down into the pump. Otherwise I'll be pulling that all back apart, redoing some lines, which sucks because that was kind of a pain in the ass to put together, but it happens. So thankfully all of the electrical stuff is still working. Everything inside the car is still working as it should, and I've been waiting to see this for a while. Back down on the ground, everything for the most part reinstalled. So we're gonna go do a little troubleshooting, pick up some lines, some fittings, and I already got my base tune, the brushed up tune for the 1650s versus the old 1050 injectors that were in the car. So hopefully we should be shaking the car down here within the next couple days. And I've already got my appointment set up with my good friends at It's a Wrap, so they're going to be PPFing both my new SAP side skirts that were just sprayed and my new front bumper. So the car has to be running back at their shop by, I believe, April 10th or 11th for them to do that. I may also have a local friend named Trey come in to do some PDR, because I've got a couple small dings. I know that there's one for sure right here on the front passenger side fender, one on the passenger side rear quarter panel. But aside from that, hopefully shouldn't need to have the car aligned. Once I get my Ford Stars back and get the new tires mounted up on those, then we should hopefully be back in business to go do streetcar things and hopefully take this to my wedding.